Now to another tumultuous week at Old Trafford, this time off the field. Sheikh Jassim pulled out of the running to take over Manchester United, leaving Sir Jim Ratcliffe clear to purchase 25% of the club. Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, has been across the developments. So how close is Sir Jim Ratcliffe to this minority stake he wants?
Well, I think it could all be sorted by Thursday. That's when there's going to be a board meeting at Manchester United. And that could end up with this proposed deal being ratified. And I think what would then happen is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have operational control as far as football matters are concerned at Manchester United. And this would be a first step towards him having full control of the club and buying more shares from the Glazers and also some more of the shares that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. But I mean, speaking to people in football, this is a very strange development, because if what we're expecting to happen happens, you're going to have a situation where somebody who only owns 25% of a club is going to be calling the shots as far as football matters are concerned. So he could bring his own people in. He could bring in a new sporting director. He may decide that Eric Tena is not the right man to take Manchester United forward. I'm not suggesting that's what he does, but if he has full control of football matters, then he would be making those kinds of decisions. I think when this whole process started 11 months ago, United fans wanted some answers. They wanted some clarity. They wanted to have a future without the Glazers. And that's not what they're getting. Whatever happens this week, even if Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in and buys 25%, it is still going to be a messy situation, and I fear there will be more questions than answers going forward.
You use the word clarity there, and people will ask the question, well, what changes? Because arguably the Glazers aren't hugely involved in football operations anyway. They sort of leave it to someone like Richard Arnold. What will his arrival mean moving forward?
Well, I think he wants to make big changes, especially to the football side of Manchester United. I think commercially he will look at United and think it's still pretty well run. I think it's not as far ahead of the opposition off the pitch as it used to be. I think his focus is going to be on matters on the pitch. Now, I think that would mean him bringing his own people in. Would he bring in a new chief executive? Would he bring in a sporting director? Would Dave Brailsford, for instance, be involved, who runs the sports operations at Ineos? You know, what kind of experience does he have in football? We know he was extraordinarily successful in cycling. He has been working with Sir Jim Ratcliffe at his football clubs Nice and Lausanne as well. But Manchester United are on a different scale to those clubs. I think his focus to begin with is going to be on football matters. But I go back to this question. How can he run everything if he only owns 25% of the club? I think maybe we'll have some more clarity later this week. We'll find out whether he has a route to a full takeover. How long will that take? But again, I think it is a messy situation. For instance, I was speaking to somebody this morning and they said to me, look at what's happened to Newcastle United, how well they're doing on and off the pitch. Now, imagine if the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia had only bought 25% of Newcastle United and Mike Ashley was still effectively the majority owner of Newcastle United. What kind of state do you think they would be in today? So I think United fans wanted a clean break with the Glazers, but for the time being, that is not what they're getting.
You mentioned there the two other clubs that they own, or Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns, in Nice and Lausanne. If you looked at those two clubs, particularly Nice, would the alarm bells be ringing a little?
I think Nice are doing pretty well at the moment, but it's taken quite a long time for them to get into this position. They are second in the French First Division. They're unbeaten this season. They've got an exciting young team with a young coach as well, who used to work with Roberto De Zerbi, who's at Brighton now. But it's taken them a while to get to this stage. I think under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they finished 9th a couple of times. They finished 5th a couple of times. That is not going to be acceptable as far as Manchester United are concerned. When it comes to Lausanne, I think when he bought them, they're the first football club he bought. I think they were relegated. Then they've been up and down a few times. I think they're back in the Swiss Premier League at the moment. He has built them a new stadium, but I think the stadium is, something like 12, 13,000 seater capacity stadium. So again, not at the level that Manchester United are at.
And you mentioned what it might mean for the manager, Eric Ten. He has had so much to contend with at the start of this season with matters off the field, which shouldn't really be anything to do with him. What might this mean for him?
Look, I can't put words into his mouth. I can't tell you what he's thinking, but the information I have, the sense I have is that he's like any other football manager. He wants clarity. He wanted this situation sorted out one way or the other quickly. Like fans, he didn't want this whole process to go on for 11 months. And when he, watched TV or read the papers yesterday, again, more questions rather than answers as far as he's concerned. He wants clarity. He wants to know who he's going to be answerable to. He wants to know who's going to be calling the shots, who is going to be having the decisions when it comes to which players they can sign. He wants to know, will he have more funds than he had last summer? Will he be able to sign players like Harry Kane, like Declan Rice going forward?
Well, like Mbappe, who the Qataris were saying that's who we'd have brought with us.
Well, I'm not sure the Qataris actually said that themselves, but there have been reports today, I think in German media, that if the Qataris had bought Manchester United, they would have tried to sign players like Kylian Mbappe. Now, I'm not sure whether to believe those reports. I think it would have been almost impossible for United, even under the Qataris, to sign Mbappe. But I'm pretty sure that Eric Ten Hag spoke to the Qataris. I think he was impressed with what he had to hear. And I think he knows that in this day and age, if you want to compete with Manchester City, if you want to compete with Liverpool, Newcastle United, Arsenal, the big clubs, you need major financial backing. And if you look at those clubs, none of those clubs are run by somebody who only owns 25% of them. So look, this is a step into the unknown for Manchester United, and it's a step into the unknown for Eric Ten Hag as well.
All right, Carve, thank you very much for now. We'll stay with this story for just a moment because the former Manchester United first-team coach, Rennie Mullenstein, believes a clear strategy has to be put in place to help the club move forward. Mullenstein emphasised the importance of spending money on Old Trafford and the club's Carrington training ground if United are to have any chance of competing with Europe's elites.
At the end of the day, it's hard for me to say when it's welcome because you don't know all the ins and outs. That's what I'm saying is you can only really... the most important thing is that there's going to be clarity, and that there's going to be a clear vision that supports, what United needs over the short and long term.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a phased buyout, though, I mean, most United fans would welcome that, even though it's not the buyout completely that they probably want at the moment.
Now, what it looks like is that obviously if Jim Ratcliffe would take over all football operations and maybe there might be some changes there and everything, but it means that they are not directly involved in the running, in the daily running and the football operations of the club. What United needs is that they come in calm waters, where there's a clear view and a clear strategy of how to take the club forward with the right investments, and that we can only wait until those people come out and shine some light on how they're going to do it.
They're talking about increasing the capacity of the stadium to 90,000 if this were to happen. Wow.
It would be amazing, but I think it's very clear and it's been documented very, very well that Old Trafford needs revamping, and it needs, some really thorough investment. So does Carrington, so all these things that need to happen, even around Carrington. There's a lot of things that need to be happening if Man United were to go back, but more than anything, you want Man United back where they belong, which is challenging for the Premier League titles and the biggest titles in Europe.